Hello everybody, this is Hammer Striker here. I'm just going to do a quick update on the Colt Python that we did a video on recently, and just an update on the status of it and any issues we may have had with it. We've got probably 350 to 400 rounds through this one, and we've had no issues that related to the gun itself. We had an ammo issue, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, but it was definitely an ammo issue. But I want to talk about this gun in general has been getting some serious loving from some crowds and some serious hating. Flip it open. Those are snap caps, inert dummy rounds. I still don't have anything that I've seen that says this is dry fire safe, so I'm not going to dry fire it. I don't want to create a problem that I don't already have. So I'm going to put the empty cylinder there so that I've got 5 as I play with the trigger. So the first thing, we did have an ammo-related issue with this, shooting Winchester White Box 38 Special. And that's kind of a low-end ammo anyway. I had 3 different rounds that did the same basic thing. They didn't go in all the way. And you might look at it and say, okay, the cylinder's not manufactured right. Well, other ammo, 357 Magnum that we had with us, dropped in smoothly. And I could take that round and I could move it from cylinder to cylinder. So I got the round, it won't go in this cylinder all the way, so okay, take the round out of this, drop it in, it does the exact same thing. That same round won't fit all the way around. You look at it, I really couldn't see a defect in it, but I'd take another round out of the box, drop it in the cylinder, and it would work. So one did that, and it would only go in about 2/3 of the way and stop. So it was very obvious it had a problem. I had 2 more rounds that would go in enough that it looked like they were in, and you'd go to thumb the hammer back and the cylinder would just hang, it would jam. So okay, I got a locked cylinder, I got a problem with the gun. It actually turned out to be that round, and I know it was that round because I take that round out, move it to the next cylinder, and put a different round in that first cylinder, and it would rotate to that first cylinder, it would work, and then when I go to the next, it would hang again. So the malfunction followed that specific round around the cylinder, and replacing it with other rounds, it worked fine. So I just had a really crappy QA box of Winchester White Box 38 Special. The Magnum that we had from a different brand that we were playing with, that worked fine. So I didn't have any locking issues that were associated with anything other than ammo. Now, you do hear a lot of noise going on right now about 2 potential issues. One, the cylinder locking, which I kind of talked about here, might be ammo, but also Hickok 45, who's a very reputable channel. He knows what he's doing. He's shot revolvers, so he knows what he's doing. He had a problem where we'd pull the trigger, the hammer would go back, but the cylinder wouldn't rotate. And I'm hearing a lot of different flavors of that, but Hickok and one other video that we saw are the only 2 videos we've seen where somebody actually demonstrated having that problem. And of course, as I said, I absolutely believe anything Hickok says. He's very reputable. So I don't know how common it is across how many guns it's actually happening, or is it just the same 2 kind of being rehashed? Which, if it's 2, that's 2 more than it should be, but that's not a huge failure rate given the number of these out there. But I do kind of know how it could happen. So I can replicate it with this one, even though this one has had no problems doing it for real. So if you pull the trigger, and again, these are snap caps, these are inert dummy rounds, and the hammer falls, there's several clicks it goes through. I'm going to let it out slowly, and hopefully you can hear the click. There's a click there, and it's a dead trigger. If I go move, nothing moves. So I let it back out past that first click. There's another little tiny click there. At this little tiny click, the whole thing's locked up. And if I let it go a little further, the hammer will move, but the cylinder won't, but the hammer won't go back all the way. And I'm not going to pull hard. I'm not trying to break this gun. They'll let it all the way out, and it's back to normal function. So there are several pawls and components that engage as the trigger goes out. The failure that's being had could very likely be caused by one of them hanging up, a machining burr, a weak spring. So I see how the problem could potentially occur. Now, if you're caused the problem by short-shucking the trigger, letting it all the way out resets it, and it's back in business. So I can see where the mechanical design of this gun would allow for a particular type of malfunction in one of the internal parts to cause that to happen. I can see how it could happen. But I've only heard of the two. As far as actual reports, individual reports, I can go to the video, see the video, and say, okay, that gun is having that problem and it's repeatable. So honestly, I really don't know how many are actually having the problem. And as I mentioned, we've got 350 plus rounds through this one here with 0 malfunctions that I would attribute to the gun. Those bad rounds, they went down range, grabbed another round, and it worked flawlessly after that. The only other issue this gun has had is, and I called this out in the original video, there's a little bit of tool chatter or damage here on the crown. And I would agree, that shouldn't be there. But it doesn't extend into the rifling, it's not affecting the accuracy of the gun, and it's not rolled in. Now, I did see one guy, his crown looked like somebody had gone at it with an angle grinder. It was hideous. And he's going to send it back to Colt. So my current plan to deal with that crown issue, because this one is so minor, is just wait to see what happens when a few people send theirs back. Do they get fixed nicely? Do they get butchered? What happens when somebody, especially somebody has a really bad one, sends it back? And then make a decision whether to just roll with it, because again, it's not affecting the function, or whether I'm going to send it back to Colt and have them take a look at it. And of course, if in continuing to shoot it, either of those two malfunctions or some brand new flavor of malfunction does happen to crop up, I'm going to send it back to Colt. I'll do an update, let you guys know what happened, and let you know how Colt handles it. And then the last thing I kind of would talk about is the grips. I'm not having any problems with these grips. They're really nice looking grips. They've got the gold medallion, and they're on Colt's website as walnut. And the coloring is walnut, the grain and pattern is walnut. There seems to be a lot of churn on these saying that they're $2 plywood grips and blah, 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 blah. And got a little scuff on there. I don't see any evidence that they are, but I'm not going to take them apart to find out that they're not. Hammer was looking around and found a couple of links for buying factory grips, and those links pointed to them being solid wood. I'm not worried about what's underneath these. They look nice, they've got a nice grain, they feel comfortable, they're solid. When I move them, they don't flex, there's no give or slop in them. They're just really nice looking, solid, comfortable grips. So I'm not going to really get worried whether or not there is a different material under here than walnut or not. The color obviously is walnut color, and they've got a nice checkering and texturing. Of course, if you get the gun and you don't like these grips, there's a whole bunch of aftermarket grips that'll fit it. The only other thing that I've kind of heard some things about is a story that there was a recall on the first 100 guns to solve some sort of a spring problem where they ordered a particular distributor to stop shipping and send them all back to the factory and have them all redone, but just the first 100. That's the way the story's done. I have nothing to disprove that, but it doesn't seem logical. There's the whole pattern of it, 100 guns, one distributor, just that 100 guns, changing out the springs. That just, something about that just doesn't seem to be logical. Maybe very true. I just think what you're finding is there's a lot of UFO sightings with this. There's people that don't like these because they're not the originals. There's people that don't like these from, good reasons, like poor quality control on the crown. I can understand that being a deterrent if you're going to spend this kind of money. But don't get hung up on whether or not this is absolutely positively identical to an original Colt Python. It's not intended to be. It's intended to be a modern version of it. There are going to be some differences. There's a couple screws that are in different places. The fire control group's a little different. It's a little different, but it is a very well done resurrection of the Python. I've enjoyed shooting this one. I'm going to enjoy having it and spending some more time with it. Hopefully I don't have any of the malfunctions. Hopefully you don't. If you buy one of these things, hopefully it just works. But if you do have a malfunction with it, contact Colt. I've had pretty good experience with them whenever I've had something that it needed dealing with. Send it back to them, let them deal with it, and get it back so you can go back to enjoying the range. So I don't know if this clears up any confusion, answers any questions or anything else. Hopefully it does. Hopefully it doesn't make anything more confusing for you. But beyond that, if you like our videos, give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe, click that bell up there if you do to get notified. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, all over the place. Thank you.